The third and final course of my Myrtle Beach trip lands at Tidewater Golf Club. Designed by the well-named Ken Tomlinson, this is his one and only golf course he would design. And boy, did he deliver, as this is considered one of the best courses you can play at Myrtle Beach. To me, this course often felt like two courses in one. On one hand, you have half the holes that are along a beautiful waterfront and marshlands, and on the other, you have very narrow fairways surrounded by trees. I've read they call this the Pebble Beach of the East. That it is not, but this course is very challenging, probably the most challenging course I played at during my stay. The opening hole at Tidewater is a par 5, a pretty wide and welcoming fairway.
That's a nice shot.
Thank you.
It's always nice to find the fairway on the first hole, but the layup shot or approach shot for some is not easy as there are bunkers guarding the middle of the fairway. I am aiming just right of those bunkers,
Oh, don't pull in the bunker.
but my natural draw has us headed right for the bunker. Fortunately, the grounds are wet. I came up just short of the bunker. That was a big, healthy chunk of grass that I removed from this earth.
Super wet.
Unfortunately, I caught that a little heavy and came up just short of the green. I'm chipping on. Pretty decent chip. Would leave that about 8 to 10 feet away for par. That putt broke, just a hair left on me at the end. Would tap in for bogey. Second hole, par 4. This is probably the straightest drive I have ever hit in my life.
It's the only club I trust.
I would regret that comment later in the round. Approach shot here, 82 yards, got a sand wedge. Great contact there, ball first. But unfortunately, I just don't put enough spin on it. It rolled out a good 15 feet. Have this long birdie putt. Thought it was going to be extremely fast. It was not.
Yeah.
The greens today did feel a little inconsistent, but I'm also a terrible putter. So the combination of the two did not help me. I blew that way past the pin. Going for the one-handed putt. They always seem to go in for me. The third hole, and I really wish I flew a drone over this hole, is one of the quirkiest par 3s I've ever seen. That is a 9-iron from 120 yards. Wind in the face, and you can see the pin location.
Woo!
I mean, that pin location was tucked, and I stuck it to about 10 feet. This could be one hell of a birdie. And it just dove to the right at the last second. I would go on to make the par putt. Great par in the third hole, move to the fourth, and probably my favorite hole on the course. According to the scorecard, this is the number 1 handicap. I would have to disagree with that, as you will see later in the round. There are a lot more difficult holes.
Sounded great.
Yeah, I think it's left side of the fairway.
And just to give you a look from above, you can see just how beautiful this hole is. Right off the marshlands, it can be tough finding the fairway and even tougher finding the green. Similar to the 16th at Dunes Golf and Beach Club, this hole is surrounded by 7 bunkers. That is an 8-iron in hand, 143 yards. Hit it as pure as it possibly could have. I know a lot of people hit their 8-irons 165, 170 yards, but it's not about the distance, it is about the results. I've got about 7 feet for birdie. I missed my chance for bird on the previous hole. I will not be denied on this one. Put a circle around that score. Let's head to the 5th hole, straightaway par 4, and this is known as a post-birdie fuck-up. That is wide right into the trees. Notice my stance is wide here as I'm trying to punch out with a 5-iron. I was trying to cut it around the tree. Wanted to keep it a little lower than that, but I put myself back into great position. That is a 54-degree wedge in hand. Wanted to keep it below the hole. I hit it well, but I did hit it a tad bit too long. The pin is in the front, so I have this long, slippery downhill putt. And that was a great judge of pace, just not the right line. That would be a tap in for bogey. 6th hole. There is water hazard on the left, but the fairway is wide. The bailout is right. It'll just leave you a longer route to the hole. I myself took that up the left side of the fairway. The approach shot here can also be a little tricky with the water hazard running along the front of the green. I took a little bit more club. Instead of the 8, I took a 7-iron, and I'm glad I did. It wasn't the best strike in the world. Hit it a little thin, came up short. But I'm on the green, nonetheless, have this long look for birdie, giving it a good run.
Wow. Great putt.
Thank you.
was a very, very solid putt. Just a nice tap in for par. The 7th hole is a very short par 4. I have a 3-wood in hand. Got the cuts going on today.
You nailed it.
Yep.
But I don't mind when I find the center of the fairway. Leaves me with just a pitching wedge in. I bottomed out on that one worse than the time I went 50 miles an hour through a speed bump. So this leaves me with a delicate pitch shot over these bunkers. Hit it really nicely. Wish I did it the first time. Got about a 4-footer for par. Trying to save par.
Nice par.
Thank you.
Working man's par.
Yes.
A blue collar par indeed will move to the 8th hole, par 5. Another wonderful hole out towards the marshlands. It is a short par 5, so it is gettable in 2.
You're fine.
I pulled it left, but with the cut I have going on, I found the fairway. No more laying up. I'm going for it in 2. Got a 5-iron. And yeah,
Layup.
went for the layup instead. And that is the beauty about par 5s. If you screw up the second shot, you still have a third shot to salvage a birdie or a par. That was a pretty good chip over those bunkers. Leaves me about 15 feet for birdie.
Oh no.
And I blew that way past the hole. So I got a tough putt coming back in. And that putt slung to the right. Yeah, that was a bad bogey. So we'll move to the 9th. Par 3, water hazard left, so you definitely want to be right of this hole. That is where I was aiming, but with my draw, I took it a little too far left.
That go in?
Right on the edge if it stayed out.
It did not stay on the edge. It found the hazard. And we're going to put up a little lost ball counter, just a little foreshadow for things to come. I thought that ball was going to roll out a little bit more than it did, so it leaves me with a very long putt for bogey. Almost found the left side of the cup. Unfortunately, that would end in a double bogey and raise my score to a 5 over 41 through 9 holes. The course is tough, and so far I have navigated it well, making just one major mistake on the night. Looking deeper into the numbers, the driver still continues to be my favorite club, and being in the fairway makes this game much easier. The irons have also been hot, but a few mistakes on the greens have cost me some strokes, a theme that will haunt me as I try to navigate this difficult course. The 10th hole is short, but a difficult hole as there is water everywhere. You definitely want to make sure you don't top it into the lake.
Nice hit.
Yeah, it's really high.
That was a perfect shot shape for this hole. It leaves me with just a 9-iron in. That was great contact made on this very wet fairway, but the ball just didn't take off. Especially on a good strike, it hit the front edge of the green.
Go in.
Yeah.
And it kicked into the water. So let's put another counter up again. Back-to-back lost balls. This course is tricky. It has a lot of hazards that come into play. Thankfully, I recovered nicely with just tap in for bogey. We'll move to the 11th. To me, this hole is the most difficult hole on the course. It is the number 2 handicap.
Hang on.
Certainly didn't make it easy on myself putting this one to the trees.
Roll through.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I hit it far enough past the tree where I have an opening at the screen.
Oh, baby. Nice swing. Get out of that.
It was a nice swing, but the club face was just open. Maybe the leaves had something to do with it. I don't know. Fortunately, I have some green to work with.
Oh, nice strike.
That was a great strike,
Oh,
but the ball put on the
it's
brakes.
like I put too much spin on it. Not releasing.
This is the reason why this hole is probably the toughest hole in the course. Watch this ball horseshoe
No.
around the hole, and it just keeps on rolling. Finally comes to a stop. This is not the bogey putt you want to have. I miss it, but can I backdoor it? No, it stays there. I'll have to put a double box on the 11th. We'll move to the 12th. It is a par 3. Playing short today with the pin in the front. The green is very wide, but being above the hole is not advised as the green slopes from back to front.
Safe miss.
I pulled that a hair, but the undulation of the green pulled my ball closer to the hole. You can see from my putt being above the hole, I have a tricky downhill putt. It's a slower putt than I assumed. I think the wind had a little bit to do with it. Take note that when you play at Tidewater, the wind is more of a factor when you're along the waterway. A good example is this tee shot on the 13th. I'm aiming up the left side of this par 5. You hear that wind coming off the left, And with that side spin, it just pushed my ball a lot further than I would have liked. This is a great example of bad course management. I'm in a pile of hay. The goal should just be getting it back in the fairway, but no, I had to try to cut it around the tree like the professional I am. Puts me in a worse position. It's so bad that I couldn't even put the camera behind me. You get a nice little side shot there. That ball would end up in a greenside bunker. These are the times I wish I had a second camera.
Play. Beautiful play.
That ball was on a downhill lie, and I hit that to perfection.
That was a great shot.
Thank you.
And no one on the camera is going to appreciate what
I know, right?
And after 3 terrible shots and 1 great shot, I have a great chance of getting a par. This would be a world-class par, but yeah, you know, bad at putting. But coming out with a bogey is not a bad result. We'll move to the 14th. The 14th has a hazard that runs through the middle of the fairway at about 240 yards. I would normally take 3-wood here, but the cold weather and wind in the face, I opt for the driver. It cut just a little too much, and I am in the rough. That is a 6-iron. That was great contact there. Not my normal shot shape. It cut on me a little bit too much, which I'm not normally opposed to.
I flushed that.
But I came up well short of the hole, chipping on, I guess you can call that a shank chip. I'm going to regret being above the hole in just a second. This is about a 12-footer for par. Great pace.
One time.
Oh, and it lipped the right edge. But take a look at that ball.
This is nuts.
It was like it increased speed as soon as it hit the lip of the hole. So I got this 5-footer for bogey. Yep. I would take that frustration to the 15th tee, a short par 4.
Caught it fat.
I hit a good 1.5 inches behind that ball. Thankfully, the hole is short. Would leave me with just 138 yards in. That is an 8-iron. It was important that I hit a good shot here with hazard along the front of the green.
This is bad.
Let's pull up the lost ball counter once again. We're at number 3. I told you guys, don't underestimate this golf course. Bring a lot of golf balls. That was a great recovery. Leaves me with about 5 feet for bogey. I guess I thought that putt was moving right. It did not move right. It was dead straight. Would end up with double bogey. I need to correct course here as I'm just playing really poorly. The 16th hole is a par 5, so that is a good start.
you're going to love that.
Yeah?
It opens up over there.
Okay. Cool.
That is a good start to this hole as I find the center of the fairway, laying up here with a 5-iron. I have 300 yards in, so I'm just trying to leave myself a good wedge
Hit it well.
for my approach shot. Hit it very well.
It's wide open down
Wide
there.
open? Okay.
The hole doesn't feel like it's wide open, but it's wide open, as you can tell. I have a gap wedge in hand. Struck it beautifully. I have to say that even though I'm playing poorly at this point, that swing right there was my favorite of the entire trip. It wasn't rushed. I wasn't off balance. Leaves me with a good 12 feet for birdie.
All right.
I pushed it out just a hair, but that's a nice tap in for par. Let's see if we can continue the par trend on the 17th. I don't think so. That was pulled a good 20 yards left.
Not a good swing. Off balance.
Just like I was saying on the shot prior, with having good tempo and being balanced, that swing was the complete opposite. I am going to need a miracle here if I want to get this ball close to the hole.
Ooh, what a
Go in.
kick.
And I almost had it. But as you can see, that ball
Look
released.
at that go.
It just keeps on going. This course is tough. The greens roll at a very fast pace for most of them. Some of them are slow, some are fast. Like I said earlier, I just
Straight?
felt like
I was gonna go that way.
it was a little inconsistent. Speaking of inconsistent, I have driver in hand.
I don't even know where it is.
So this whole doglegs to left, I tried to hit a draw. I hadn't been hitting a draw the entire trip.
Do you see it?
I can't see it. I think it fell down in those bushes there. Yeah.
I don't know why I tried to do it, but I ended up losing that ball, so we will put another lost ball counter up. I am in fuck it mode, so I decide to try to hit a fade here. Yeah. I still can't figure that one out. I did hit one at Caledonia, but that one was pulled way left, so I'm chipping back onto the green. That chip is for bogey, so it's kind of vital. I don't want to go triple bogey here. Can we make this double bogey
Oh,
putt? No, we cannot.
the edge on that one.
That's for double, I think.
Unfortunately, that is how my round ends, with a triple bogey. After 2.5 rounds of really good golf at Myrtle, I finally lived up to the name of my channel. It was a horrendous back nine for me with, count 'em, 3 double bogeys, a triple bogey, 4 lost balls, and a bruised ego for a final round of 89. This is a tale of 2 nines indeed. The driver went MIA. I was either chunking or pulling every single one of my iron shots. The putting, well, that was par for the course. But it was a tough way to go out on my Myrtle Beach trip.